Hello, everybody. My name is Ynzo, and I'm the chief evangelist or the choco evangelist of I would say, formerly small Dutch chocolate company called Tony's Chocolonely. And I'll get back to why I call it formerly, because we became market leaders recently. I'm going to take you through the story of cocoa, of what we do as a company, about how we do things as a company, but mostly why we even came to be as a company. And I'm going to use this spiffy new tool that I have, Prezi Video. My slides were converted by another spiffy, hip and happening little company in the Netherlands called Mr.Prezident. I hope everything works well. Otherwise, you have them to blame that it sucks. Anyway, so I'd like to tell you about the bitter reality behind the sweet story of chocolate, because unfortunately not too many people still know that there's a very bitter reality that still exists today. So let me quickly dive into the subject. I'd like to tell you, here I'm clicking the right stuff over here, how the world of cocoa looks, because I'm happily telling you about the nice things we do as a company and what brought us to the success that we're at the moment. But I'd mostly like to tell you about why we even came to be, because we didn't even want to become a company. It wasn't, and never meant to become a company. We were never even meant to become market leaders or globally available that we are now, because we just wanted to solve a problem that's there in the world. I'm going to take you through that depressing story of that problem first. So how does the world of cocoa look? Cocoa grows around the equator. There's a little bit of cocoa that comes from Asia. There's a little bit of cocoa that comes from Central and South America, where originally all cocoa used to come from. But the majority of cocoa nowadays is grown on millions of tiny farms in Western Africa. These aren't big plantations. These are 2, 3, maximum 4 hectare size, family-run businesses, millions of them. That's one side of the value chain. The other side of the value chain is billions of consumers like you and I who just want to be able to munch down on a bar of chocolate each and every day of their life without having to feel any sense of guilt. And in the middle of that value chain, there's only a handful of companies that actually produce chocolate from cocoa. So these are the big industrials like Callebaut or Callebaut and Cargill, and the better known brand names like Mars, Hershey's, Mondelez, Nestle. But I would say there's not much more than 10 companies that produce 85 or 90% of all cocoa in the whole wide world. And it's in their interest that the price of cocoa remains low. In our opinion, that price is inhumanly low. Because how does that look? Of a bar of chocolate that's sold for not much more than €2 and I would say 80 cents in the Netherlands, not much more than 5.5%, 6% actually goes to the farmer that grows that cocoa. So that's not much more than 15 or 16 cents per bar. And that leads to that cocoa farmer in Ivory Coast and his or her family members living off not much more than 72 euro cents per person per day. Now let that sink in for a moment whilst we're sipping on a nice Chardonnay or diving into our leased cars later on today. 72 euro cents per person per day. That is way below the living income level that's stated at €2.20 for Ivory Coast per person, and even way below the extreme poverty level that's stated at €1.79 per person in Ivory Coast. And we think that value chain is very unequally divided. How does that look? 2 countries in Western Africa, Ghana and Ivory Coast, produce about 60% of all cocoa in the whole wide world. And that is grown on 2.5 million farms in Ghana and Ivory Coast alone. And on those farms, there's 2.3 million children that work there, of which 90%, 2.1 million children, work under illegal circumstances. Now, it's important to realize that that is not just illegal according to international labor organization standards, but also illegal according to local law in Ghana and Ivory Coast. So that means that these kids walk around with big sharp machetes, work with chemicals, or at the age of 5, 6, 7, or 8 years old, carry bags of cocoa beans that weigh 64 kilos per bag each. And in the very worst case, at least 30,000 children are subject to something that can be considered modern slavery. So these are kids that are lured from neighboring countries like Burkina Faso, are forced to work in illegal circumstances and do unpaid work. And we find that ridiculous. This day and age, 2020, for a product that nobody actually needs, right? Chocolate. Now let me Now, this same realization of the stupidity of modern slavery and the product that we use every day came to the attention of two American senators in 2001. And these were called Senator Harkins and Senator Engel. And they set up the Harkins and Engel Protocol to eradicate the worst forms of illegal child labor from the value chain of cocoa within 5 years' time. And the Harkins and Engel Protocol was signed by all of the big chocolate companies that I just mentioned. And then you think you're there, right? Unfortunately, the Harkins and Engel Protocol was and is a so-called non-binding agreement. And non-binding agreements don't get you anywhere. It shows because now, 20 years down the line, none of the goals in the protocol have been achieved. Almost at the end of the first term of that protocol, after 5 years, there was a Dutch television show called Fergusons Vandalia, which is an investigative journalistic program looking at the reality, let me put this in blunt Dutch, behind some bullshit in the food marketing. And Teun van Keuken, the journalist, was shocked when he realized that at the end of the protocol, the Harkins and Engel Protocol, nothing had been done by the cocoa industry towards change. Nothing had changed in the cocoa industry, even though the protocol was signed by all of those big chocolate companies. None of them was taking their responsibility. But none of them wanted to speak to Teun on camera either. So Teun had an issue as a television journalist. So Teun came up with a smart move. Teun bought 10 different bars of different brands, of which he was sure that somewhere in that value chain there had been illegal and forced child labor. And he put a camera on himself and he took a bite of each and every of those chocolate bars and he called the international alarm number 112 and he said, "My name is Teun van Keuken and I want to turn myself in as a chocolate criminal." Now, it was quiet on the other end of the line because they don't get these phone calls every day. And the lady said, "Why, sir?" And he said, "Well, according to international law, if you're aware of illegal activities in the value chain of a product that you purchase, you make yourself complicit to those illegal activities. So by buying and consuming chocolate, of which I know that there's forced child labor in there, I make myself complicit to the financing of modern slavery. And that's illegal, so you have to come and arrest me." Now, long story short, Teun wasn't being taken seriously, so Teun set up a court case against himself, which was a brilliant move, because if he would have sued one of these big chocolate players, he would never get to a court case. And in this case, they could only stand by and watch what the verdict of the judge would be, and they would have to abide by that verdict. Unfortunately, after a lengthy pre-trial, the judge said, "Mr. van Keuken, morally, you're completely right, but legally, we can't prosecute you, because we can't prove the causality between the chocolate that you ate and the beans that were picked by former child slaves that signed witnesses in that court case, witness statements in that court case." Teun didn't have the court case and didn't have the television footage to make his television show, so Teun said, "You know what? I'll change that system from within." And Teun started his own little chocolate company called Tony's Chocolonely. Tony's, the international name for Teun, a very Dutch name, and Chocolonely for his lonely battle in the chocolate industry. Hence the unpronounceable brand names that we still use today. And don't worry, because I would think 80% of the Dutch always talk about Tony Chocolonely, and can be always worse. Last year I was introduced at a conference as Ynzo van Toko Choco Loco once. Okay, that guy could have done his homework a bit better. But anyway, Tony's Chocolonely was born a small chocolate company, but with a huge mission to not only make our own chocolate 100% slave-free, but to make all chocolate worldwide 100% slave-free. Now, we've grown like crazy, like a family of rabbits, and we are really proud of the fact that we became market leader in the Netherlands 1.5 years ago, outdoing all traditional competition in a very short time frame of 6-7 years. And we're now available in Scandinavia, Finland, Germany, Belgium, France, UK, US, and loads of places like Dubai. We launched in New Zealand last week, Mexico. So I can say we're almost becoming a global brand by now, but we still really believe in holding on to that firm belief of a small company and the culture of a small company. Because a wise woman, Anita Roddick, the founder of the Body Shop, I don't know whether you know that name, she once said, "If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sharing your room with a mosquito." And we're the mosquito in the room of the chocolate industry, right? Constantly buzzing in the back of the ears, sometimes stinging, and hopefully keeping them awake at night like a proper mosquito should be doing. Now, let me run you through our strategy. It's a 3-step strategy. First of all, is we want to create awareness. Because we're convinced that when consumers are aware of the issue in the cocoa industry, and consumers and retailers simply hand in hand ask more questions about the products that they put in their shopping baskets or the products that they put up on their shelves, that the producers of these goods will have to start feel that pressure and will have to change their ways. Now, what kind of consumers do we actively look for? Those are the consumers that we call our serious friends. So those are the consumers that not just buy our chocolate because they like our chocolate, which is fine in itself, not just buy our chocolate because they believe in our mission, but those people that actively spread our mission amongst family and friends. So we call those people our serious friends, and I'll get back to that point later on why that's so important for us. So that's the first step in our strategy. To create more awareness, we, for example, opened a store in the heart of Amsterdam in the Fergusons Vandalia 2 years ago, where if you ever think you've tasted all types of Tony's, think again, because you can make more than 22,000 personalized combinations of chocolate and wrappers in our machine that we have installed in our superstore. We recently opened our chocolate bar in the Fergusons Vandalia in Amsterdam, where you can go full out on calorie intake. That's unbelievable. But that superstore and that chocolate bar isn't there to simply sell more chocolate, or it's really to create awareness amongst amongst our serious friends about cocoa and where cocoa comes from, and to really be able to tell this story of how we work and how we do things. Now, that store wasn't crazy enough for us, so we announced last year that we want to open our own factory at the outskirts of Amsterdam. We're still working hard on really getting the right place. But we have the whole drawing in place, and we have this idea to have this roller coaster go through our factory, through our office as well. Hopefully we can get that through the Arbo vet. They actually can have a roller coaster fly by your desk at 100 kilometers an hour. We'll see where that ends. Anyway, that's all to create awareness and to step up the pressure amongst consumers towards organizations and governments that they take their responsibility when it has to do with human rights and human rights violations in their value chain. So we launched a petition this year where we want to gather more than 1 million signatures to really step up that pressure on organizations that they can prove that there's no human rights violations in their value chain. This is all about awareness. The second step in our strategy is that we want to show the chocolate industry that chocolate can actually be made in a different way, in a more responsible way, in a more sustainable way, in a more social way, in our opinion, simply in a better way. How? By following 5 steps that we call our sourcing principles, of which the most important one is to really take responsibility for your full value chain. So there where the industry said it's impossible to work with full traceability in the cocoa industry, we said we're back to differ. And we now work directly with more than 6,500 farmers in Ghana and Ivory Coast, where we have a long-term relationship with, and those farmers are united in 7 cooperatives in those 2 countries. And why those 2 countries specifically? Because the problem of forced child labor simply is the biggest in Ghana and Ivory Coast, and we don't want to go around the problem. We want to fix the problem where the problem is the biggest. Second step in our strategy is that we actually want to pay a higher price towards those farmers. So on top of the farm gate price, we give them the fair trade premium, and on top of the fair trade premium, we pay them an additional Tony's premium of about 20 to 40% to really bridge that gap towards what's called the living income reference price. And you can debate for hours what a living income is, but for us it simply means that you're able to have a roof over your head, feed your whole family, send your kids to school, which we find essential in this strategy, and hopefully invest a little bit in your farm to get into a spiral upwards, positive spiral upwards. Now, we help them increase their productivity, we help them increase the quality of the cocoa beans, and furthermore, we help them professionalize as cooperatives to really have a stronger stand towards that middle of the value chain that I talked to you earlier on. These 5 principles we share open source, online, on the, I hate to say I just ate half a bar already today. On the inside of our wrappers, because why not print the inside of your wrappers if you have them anyhow, to really share these sourcing principles. And that's to aim for companies, that's the last step in our strategy, to blatantly copy what we're doing. Now, we're being copied like crazy, let's face it. There's not a single brand in the Netherlands that doesn't have caramel sea salt nowadays, which Eva invented in her internship at Tony's. I can tell you, that's probably the most successful internship in the history of mankind. Eva obviously still is with us, no longer as an intern, obviously. And our aim is for people to copy us. And when we see them copying this kind of things, or our recipes, or the wrappers, or even the unequally shaped bars that we had, we don't call them off for that. We salute them for that. And then we openly invite them on social media to come by our office. Why social media? And ups the pressure. To have a cup of coffee, CEO to CEO, to not just copy the front end of our brand, but to actually inspire them to copy the back end of our brand. So the value chain model and the business model that we work. I'm really proud that we could announce last year that Albert Heijn now sources all of their private label, the Delicata chocolate, through the same five principles. And together with Albert Heijn, we launched the Tony's Open Chain platform, also with Barry Callebaut, the producer of both our chocolates. And why was that such great news? Because Barry Callebaut is the biggest chocolate producer in the world. And they now reach a scale where they can roll this out for any brand that they produce chocolate for. So there's not a single brand that can hide behind the excuse of saying, we can't do this. Because if Barry Callebaut can do it, everybody can do it. So, we could have become an NGO. We could have become an activist. We chose to become a commercial chocolate company, changing that system from within. Even though some people call us a social enterprise, which I used to think is fine, but I think it's the wrong term nowadays. We don't call ourselves a social enterprise anymore, because we just simply think that this is the way that entrepreneurship should look, and the organizations that are financially successful and don't take their responsibility within the society that they're performing or within the planet that they're performing on are simply antisocial or asocial enterprises, in my opinion. Because for us, financial success isn't an end goal. Don't get me wrong, we're commercial as hell. But financial success isn't a goal in itself. It's a means towards a goal. Our goal is crystal clear. It's 100% slave-free chocolate worldwide. Now, we always say we're crazy about chocolate and we're serious about people. Now, we're pretty damn crazy about chocolate. 15 years ago, there were 4 types of chocolate in the world. White, milk, dark, and something with nuts sprinkled into it or something. We have 25 to 30 different recipes. We have rotating recipes. We have Easter bars. We have Santa bars. We have Christmas bars. We have the relay bar, so the estafette-reep in Dutch. And if you haven't tasted the last estafette-reep, go to the Albert Heijn and get your stack, because it's like crack cocaine to a chocolate junkie like me. It's white chocolate with kandijkoek, so it's like bastogne and cherries. It's like, anyway. I can finish one in, I would say, 1.7 minutes, which is about 1,100 calories. I wish I could do sports and burn 1,100 calories in 1.7 minutes. But anyway, crazy about chocolate, serious about people. We're pretty damn crazy about chocolate. When you walk into any of our offices, the first thing you always see is the kitchen where Eva and Bas still come up with the craziest recipes each and every single day that we then launch about a year later or something. And come to our office. This is an open invitation because we have this rule that if you come by the Tony's offices, you never leave without chocolate. So we think we have the happiest mailman on the planet in Amsterdam. Crazy about chocolate, but we're serious about people. And in our list of serious about people, number 1, which is slightly narcissistic, but we put our own team. Because we believe we can only reach that humongous goal of 100% slave-free chocolate worldwide by having the most committed and engaged and inspired and motivated team you can imagine. So, in your one-page contract that we have nowadays, it specifically states that if you work at Tony's, you can bring home as much chocolate from the office as you can physically carry, each and every day. To put that slightly within reasonable boundaries, you get free running shoes every year. We do yoga and boot camp every week together. We have, you know what a BMI is, your body mass index? So we used to have a BMI bonus, which obviously became slightly politically incorrect. So we changed that into the maintain your BMI bonus, so at least your BMI didn't go up that year. We have a non-smoking bonus. We have unlimited holidays, because we simply believe that if you work at Tony's and you're interdependent always within an office and within your peers, then we just believe in you get your job done no matter how many holidays you take, right? And as long as you're happy with the amount of holidays that you want to take every year, literally we even changed it around. We didn't even turn it to unlimited holidays. We changed the maximum 28 holidays into minimum 28 holidays. So managers are actually held accountable for your team being away at least 28 days per year, and it can be more. Now we have one that I personally love, having 2 kids. We have a baby bonus. Because not every employer in the Netherlands likes it when you become pregnant because you're gone for a while. We applaud it. So if you have a child whilst working at Tony's, on the day of birth, you get €1,000 cash in your hands. And if you make a child with somebody else within Tony's, you each get €1,000 cash in your hands. And no shit, if you then call your child Tony's or Tony, you get another €1,000 cash in your hands. So it's a business model to make Tony's, at Tony's, with Tony's, during work time. It gives you a totally different angle for the Friday afternoon drinks, I can tell you. Anyway, so our team on number 1. The farmers that we work with, obviously, on number 2. And mind you, before I start sounding like some kind of marketing boquito, 6,500 farmers isn't 0.5% yet of the 2.5 million farms in Ghana and Ivory Coast alone. So we're a drop in the ocean, unfortunately. We have a very, very long way together to go to really fix that system that's so messed up at the moment. On number 3, we put our consumers. So when you call Tony's on the one phone line we have, the Choco phone, because we put Choco in front of everything. If you call us on the Choco phone, whether you have a complaint or a compliment, we don't care. You never get one of those annoying switchboards that will tell you dial 1 to speak to a human being, dial 2 to wait for 20 minutes, dial 3 to if you're sure enough. If you call the Choco phone, you get to speak to Paul or Keisha, my office champions. And when Paul or Keisha are both busy, all the phones in the whole office go off at the same time. Because we find it essential that when a consumer has the respect to get in touch with us, we show the damn respect to just pick up that phone and speak back to that person, human to human. As a graduated economist, I no longer believe in the term B2B or B2C. I believe in 21st century capitalism, there's only place for H2H economy. So that's really human to human economics. And that is beyond purpose economy. I would even go towards a love or empathy economy, but that's a longer story. And maybe we do that at the bar someday. Anyway, where was I? Consumers. Number 4, the retailers that sell our bars. So those are all the retailers in the Netherlands. That's Whole Foods, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, etc. Number 5 are suppliers. Now, when you hear this story about how unequally divided the world of cocoa has always been, isn't it weird to realize that chocolate bars have always had these perfectly divided, almost boring Excel spreadsheet kind of shape? Now, we thought that didn't really fit us, so we changed our bars into an unequally divided bar. I can tell you, in the beginning, we had hell to pay. Phone was ringing off the hook. Internet was exploding. There was this epic complaint by this mother sending us an email saying, my kids used to live in perfect harmony. And then you guys come up with this unequally divided bars and they're bickering each and every single day. We tried to get in touch with everybody that had a complaint to explain to them why we had made our bars unequally divided. Because our bars tell the story of the unequally divided cocoa industry in its purest form. Our bars become a discussion piece. If you open a bar of Tony's at a dinner table or in your bedroom, wherever the hell you open a bar of chocolate, and the person next to you doesn't know the story of Tony's, you're going to have to explain the story because they are bound to ask you, why is that thing so annoyingly unequally divided? Now, and why is that relevant? Why is it relevant that you guys become an ambassador of the brand? Because we've never spent a single cent on paid media. You've never seen any form of advertising paid for by Tony's. It's all been word of mouth. So here's a little anecdote for the people that will tell this story tonight. So, because obviously I believe you guys have all bars of Tony's at home, right? Can I get some nods there? No? Good thing. If not, Paul will happily send you a couple of bars next week. I'm sure of that. Anyway, so a little anecdote. Not many people know that we managed to hide the map of Western Africa in our chocolate bar, showing the origin of our cocoa beans and the strong farmers that we work with in Ghana and Ivory Coast. Anyway, to round off, I'm sure that together we can make all chocolate 100% soy-free. But I just want to remind you that is not up to us. That is not the mission that we stand for as Tony's. Because it's not about us. It's about really together with the industry, together with governments, together with chocolate consumers, together with retailers, and together with the farmers, really make sure that all chocolate becomes 100% slave-free. I'm going to leave you with the wise words of a wise French dude called Jean-Paul Sartre, who once said, once you know something, you cannot unknow something. And once you know something and you're aware, that makes you responsible. And when you're responsible, it's upon you to act upon that responsibility. So the very next time you find yourself in front of a chocolate shelf in the supermarket, or honestly, whatever shelf you find yourself in front of, or honestly, whatever business decision you have to make in your lifetime, just realize that each and every purchase you make, and each and every business decision you make is actually a vote for the world you want to live in yourself. Thank you very much.